fraud lawsuit continues to be ignored by the mainstream media. Meanwhile, the Clinton body count continues to grow. Now, Jared Beck is representing the plaintiffs in the DNC fraud lawsuit. We spoke to him in the past. We are now joined by his wife, also an attorney in Miami, Florida, Elizabeth Lee Beck. Elizabeth, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Elizabeth, I wanted to get you on for a couple reasons. One, I wanted to keep the DNC fraud lawsuit in the narrative, in the talk, especially here because there's been no coverage whatsoever on mainstream media, at least that I could see. No talk about even the Bernie Sanders lawsuit. Being on the other side of this, seeing the actual inner workings, seeing what Jared's doing behind the scenes, does it shock you to see that the mainstream media is completely ignoring this?
Yeah. Do you remember Mr. Branton Wisenant?
I'm sorry, who is that?
Mr. Branton Wisenant. He passed away very suddenly. And when he passed away, there was some speculation that he was quite possibly connected to the DNC lawsuit. And we were contacted by many members of the public who expressed concern. But I want to go through a timeline, some connections, if I may, Owen.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's Barrington Wisenant. He was a federal prosecutor in Florida. He wound up dead on the beach with head trauma. And now you're talking about possible connections there.
So it's very convoluted. So you have to follow very closely, okay? Okay, number one, there is a Branton Wisenant, J. Plotkin, Jacksonville connection. So follow me here. J. Plotkin was the director of the state attorney's office in Jacksonville from 1993 to 2009. Until January of 2009, he supervised all aspects of an office of 100 attorneys and over 300 support staff. Mr. Branton Wisenant is actually not a Miami native, even though he worked here, and passed away in Broward County, which is in South Florida. To the contrary, Mr. Branton Wisenant is a native of Jacksonville, Florida. He graduated from Bishop Kenny High School in 1997 and worked as an assistant state attorney with the 4th Judicial Circuit from 2004 through 2007. In other words, Mr. Branton Wisenant and Mr. J. Plotkin worked in the state attorney's office at the same time. That's so the Wisenant.
Where does J. Plotkin come into this? Because this is a new name to me.
J. Plotkin?
Yes.
Just bear with me.
Okay.
Now, there's a Jacksonville Mayo Clinic connection. Mayo Clinic has a hospital in Jacksonville, Florida. There's a Mayo Clinic Judge Harvey Schlesinger connection. A lawsuit was filed in 2015 in federal court in Jacksonville against the Mayo Clinic in connection with an organ transplant case. The judge presiding over that case was the Honorable Harvey Schlesinger. There's a Judge Schlesinger, J. Plotkin, Branton Wisenant connection. J. Plotkin is Judge Harvey Schlesinger's son-in-law. Mr. Wisenant's body was recovered on May 24th, 2017. On June 8, 2017, Judge Schlesinger threw out the case against Mayo Clinic, Jacksonville, on summary judgment. There is a Mayo Clinic Clinton Foundation connection. A number of hospitals, including Mayo Clinic and St. Vincent's, co-sponsored a launch event in Northeast Florida in connection with the Clinton Health Matters Initiative. There is a Mayo Clinic high government officials connection. The emeritus public trustees of the Mayo Clinic include a Thomas J. Brokaw, quite possibly Tom Brokaw, a Barbara P. Bush, a Richard B. Cheney, possibly Dick Cheney, Senator Thomas A. Daschle, and Paul A. Volcker. The Mayo Clinic provides a full range of health services, including organ transplants, bone marrow transplants, blood transfusions, and genetic medicine. There's a Clinton Foundation Haiti connection. There's a Klaus Eberwein Haiti connection. Klaus Eberwein, a former Haitian government official, was found dead July 11th of this year with a gunshot wound to the head. He was found at 14501 South Dixie Highway, a Quality Inn. This Quality Inn is 7.5 miles from my office. There's a Peter Smith Mayo Clinic connection. Mr. Peter Smith purportedly took his own life May 14th in a hospital in Rochester, Minnesota, near the Mayo Clinic, called the Aspen Suites. The Aspen Suites is across the street from the St. Mary's campus of Mayo Clinic and is almost exclusively used by patients of the hospital. He purportedly left a suicide note which stated that there was no foul play whatsoever and, quote, recent bad turn in health since January 2017, end quote, was the reason that he was taking his own life, and the timing was related to, quote, to life insurance of $5 million expiring, end quote. He was purportedly searching for Clinton emails. That's my research, sir.
Wow. Elizabeth, you go on.
I'm not aware of any life insurance policy that would pay out if the person committed suicide. I believe they usually have a suicide exclusion.
Yeah, that's pretty much commonplace in any insurance policy. Wow, Elizabeth, I'm not sure how often you do interviews like this. You did great research. You were reading from our notes, from your notes. Thank you so much for breaking that down. I don't even think you understand the bombshell that you just released here. I mean, this is actually huge news. I contacted Jared because I wanted to get an update on the DNC fraud suit, and I wanted to talk about, we talk about potential witnesses testifying against the Clintons. All of a sudden, Peter Smith. All of a sudden, Klaus, all of a sudden, these deaths. So I wanted to have him on. And then you were like, well, I've got some new breaking news here. I've made some connections. Wow. I'm just going to try to digest everything that you just said. It sounds to me.
Everything I said to you is a fact. Everything I said to you is a fact. I have
clearly laid it out.
No speculation, just facts.
So the interesting thing to me then, and allow me to speculate, if you will, this is my speculation. It seems to me the key here that I noticed was the organ transplant. An organ transplant. And that just makes me scratch my head. Why would there be a tie into an organ transplant? Is this stuff that goes on at the Mayo clinics down there?
They have an organ transplant department at Mayo Clinic, Jacksonville. Yes.
I mean, you can imagine where my mind goes. You start talking about organ plants, organ donation, organ transplants, black market even perhaps. Maybe there was something there. That's, again, my speculation as to why somebody might be trying to cover something up here. That's just my speculation. But you've laid out all of the amazing connections, and then you started laying out Bush connections. You started laying out other connections down there in Florida that I didn't even think about until today. When you started doing this research and turning up this dirt, were you as shocked as I am right now?
Yes.
So what do you think the deal is? Where do you think the connection here lies? Do you think, or do you think that this is just a coincidence that now not only Barrington Wisenhunt is no longer with us, but now also Peter Smith and Klaus Eberwein, who happen to be in the States?
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on.
You're very emotional right now. I can honestly understand that. You know, the other day,
I'm just a lawyer here. I don't know what's going on.
I said on Twitter the other day when I heard about Peter Smith, I think that was Friday, immediately I started thinking about you and Jared because you guys are really sticking your neck out there. I mean, this is no joke, and this is happening right down the street from you. This isn't just happening in a foreign land. This isn't just happening in Haiti. This isn't just happening on a boat somewhere out at sea. Now this is happening just miles from your guys' offices. I mean, you're taking a serious leap of bravery here for coming on and revealing this information that you have that you've investigated for yourself. Again, no lies, all fact. What do you want the public to know? I mean, I know it's tough for you to gather yourself right now, but just what do you think the public needs to know right now? And where does this information need to go?
I would like the public to look into these matters, perhaps. I think they bear investigation. I think deaths are a serious matter. Mr. Brandon Wiesland was a friend of a friend. My friend told me to stay safe, and Mr. Brandon Wiesland passed away. I am doing what I can, but perhaps all of us need to look into these matters.
Elizabeth, when I spoke to Jared last, he had talked about how he had reached out to the judge involved in the DNC fraud lawsuit case, asking for witness protection. That was denied. I'm just curious, with all the work that you've done, and I see how emotional you've gotten, I mean, do you feel like you're alone in this? Do you feel like you guys are fighting this fight on the side of justice from your perspective, from the legal perspective? I mean, do you feel alone in this right now?
No, I do not feel alone, but I remember reading a quote somewhere, and it said that quote was, sometimes the forces of evil are so great that there is really nothing you can do to fight them.
It's amazing to think when I saw the Peter Smith story, I just sat here and I thought, you know, if Seth Rich, Sean Lucas, and Barrington Wisenant weren't enough, certainly the Peter Smith was going to blow this out of the water. Nothing. Hardly anything on the mainstream media. Klaus Eberwein, the same day. Nothing. Hardly gets reported. Then you dig up all of these connections on your own from a legal perspective, from a legal background. Certainly needs to be an investigation. Questions need to be asked of Jay Platkin. Again, we're not insinuating he's done anything illegal. Just, hey, there's a connection here. There's people that have died here. Let's get down to the bottom of this and figure out what's going on. But it feels to me, Elizabeth, and this is why I asked you if you feel like you're alone. It feels to me like no one's looking for justice. No one's doing this investigation. I've not heard of any police force in Florida investigating this. I've not heard that the FBI or the CIA has any interest. Have you heard of any interest, either from law enforcement or from the judicial side, that there is any interest in this story and pursuing justice other than yourself and your husband, Jared?
I wouldn't know if there were.
So you've not heard anything either? All right, Elizabeth, you did a great job coming on here and revealing that. I'm going to allow you to take some time now, and we'll speak again here soon, and I'll also speak with Jared about this. This is absolutely monster. Please email me those notes if you would. I want to get a story out about this immediately on Infowars.com. Let's get this printed. And please, folks, please, thoughts and prayers with Elizabeth and Jared Beck. They are doing this because they believe in justice. They believe in truth. This isn't about partisan politics. This isn't about Trump or Clinton or Democrats or Republicans. This is about justice. This is about law, and this is about doing what's right. So I thank you, Elizabeth, for coming on here, doing that research. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Thank you.
That is Elizabeth Lee Beck. Her and her husband, Jared Beck, are fighting for justice in the DNC fraud lawsuit right now. It just continues to get weirder and more eerie day by day.